Step back three for the tie. Oh, he's done it again. They get it to him. More in space. A burst of speed. A first down for Purdue. He's still going. More. Cuts back. Touchdown. Each one more.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today to the Boiler Express podcast. Love the new end of the intro there. We got Dylan on there. So he's officially now part of the Boiler Express podcast. Last week was his trial run. So
had to go through a probationary period.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Pretty boring week in Purdue athletics. Not a lot to talk about. Basketball is doing okay. Football, pretty quiet week. Not a lot going on. But there's a ton to talk about tonight. It's pretty crazy. It's kind of funny that our basketball team is ranked number 1 in the country, and that's kind of being overshadowed by something else right now. Only the second time for it to happen in program history, happening in back-to-back seasons, but something else is kind of taking that over right now, and that's football. We've got a new football coach, so welcome, Coach Ryan Walters. We're pretty excited to have you here. We are, I think, all excited about that for maybe different reasons, and we'll get into that later. But it's been a crazy week. And so to start this off, you guys know how well I do with timelines and keeping track of when things happen. So I kind of wanted to do that again this week. And so last Tuesday when we met, Brohm hadn't technically left yet. There was a lot of word out there. There was a lot of hearsay. My mom's grandma's ex-Gecko's uncle's V8 told me that Coach Brohm was going to Louisville. And, that ended up happening. We all understand, he was going home. But what was your guys' initial reactions to hearing that finally officially announced?
Well, as someone who lives in the city of Louisville, I am so tired of hearing about it constantly.
Dude, I bet that's got to be awful. What about you, Russ? How is it?
Yeah, I thought he was going to go another direction. As someone that lives in the area, it was more, we knew he was going to leave eventually. It was more of a feeling that Louisville doesn't deserve him. The way they drug his name through the mud and, tried to remove him from videos and tributes and said he's just a bum 500 coach, and now all of a sudden he's the savior. That was my feeling. I was more upset that Louisville got him than that we lost.
Yeah, and I'll echo that. I've been to several Louisville football games in the last few years, and what Russ is talking about. They had this video where they sort of tribute some of the great quarterbacks of all time. They play and they have Brian on there, they have Oscar on there, no Jeff. Jeff used to be on there, and after he turned down the job the first time, they removed him from that video. And yeah, kind of the general sentiment from a lot of fans that I talked to about it, because being an outspoken Purdue fan in the city of Louisville, people always want to bring up Jeff Brohm, but the general sentiment was like, he's okay. He's a 500 coach. Like, we're better than that. And now that he's back, it's like he's the savior of the program, a program that's coming off a 7-win season too. So, and had the number 1 recruiting or the best recruiting class in school history coming in. So, like I said, I think we all knew it was coming. It's just being shoved down my throat every day by everyone around me, which is frustrating.
Yeah, thankfully, usually my dad is the one that rags on me for anything that happens with Purdue. Like, if a game is happening, it's a tight one, and there's it's a 1 or 2 point game, and there's 30 seconds left. He's blowing up my phone, FaceTiming me, going like, "Man, what? Oh, Purdue's gonna choke. Purdue's this, Purdue's that." And he hasn't said one thing to me this week about it, which was really surprising. Honestly, I haven't heard a lot. I do have a buddy that I work with who is just a big sports guy in general, so we've chatted about it a little bit, but yeah, it was definitely a cycle of emotions. It was this damn, we lost him, to understanding, okay, yeah, he's going home, And then also just like confusion too, because he's got to be aware of like everything that was said about him, everything that was, he probably knows that he was removed from that video package, knows all those things. So I get it that he's going home. It's just really interesting to me that still like that even though all those things happen, he's still like, oh yeah, I love Louisville. I'm coming back home. I'm the prodigal son. So yeah, it's just really interesting. Bummed that we lost him, but I get it.
Well, and I want nothing but success for Jeff Brohm. I truly, truly mean that. He dug us out of the mud. He brought us to a national relevancy again. And but I just can't shake the feeling that maybe this is an incredibly risky career move for him. I mean, when you look at someone like Scott Frost, for example, his relationship with Nebraska is probably soured permanently as a result of his poor performance. And you can be one of the most memorable quarterbacks, one of the most memorable players for a team. Doesn't mean you necessarily have to go coach there. It sometimes works out and it sometimes doesn't. But they're a ruthless fan base here. If they don't get immediate 8-win seasons, that's what the expectation here is with all the buzz around me every day. Is that they're just immediately going to have a lot of success and results, and if that doesn't happen, he might be on a short leash. I hope not. Like I said, I hope nothing nothing but the best for him, but hopefully that's not the case here.
What'd you guys think of that that video they made him do to like promote the basketball game to like pack the Yump Center?
I won't
it
be
was
there,
painful.
but you should be there.
Yeah,
Hey guys, I won't be there, but you all should be there.
I've got stuff to do, you guys. I
yeah. I mean, again, something you would never see at Purdue, and something honestly, historically, you'd really never expect to see at Louisville. But similarly, they hired a guy who played there as their basketball coach. The guy who was going to bring in recruits and get people in the seats. And man, there's a lot of parallels there. And they're 0-10, 0-9, 0-10 right now. Not saying that's going to happen to Brohm. Again, I wish him nothing but success, but just interesting that they the same athletic administration went with the guy who was the prodigal son, was going to get people in the seats, and we'll just TBD.
yeah.
Yes, I saw that. It was weird.
Yeah, I was looking at Louisville's schedule for next year, and honestly, I looked at it and I was thinking, with the season they're coming off of and the recruiting class they're bringing in and the people they've poached from us, I could see like an 8 or 9 win season, just because I don't feel like that schedule is that strong. It's really, there was no team on there that I was like, oh, that's an automatic loss, or at least not that
Maybe
I can recall.
Clemson?
Yeah, that's probably closer to an automatic loss. But honestly, they didn't have too many on there that none that I would compare to like a Michigan or an Ohio State or even a Penn State.
So
yeah.
Speaking of their schedule, they do have a marquee, if you want to call it, matchup in Lucas Oil again with IU. So who are we rooting for in that game?
Oh, it's got to be
Oh,
Louisville.
I'm
Louisville, a billion.
I'm rooting for Louisville again. I'm living in the city of Louisville. I don't know, Russ, if you experienced this or not, but I'm a secondhand Louisville fan. It's going to be harder now, than it is been in the past. But and I gotta hate IU. So yeah.
So what about this scenario? It's what's their third game of the year, I think it is. So what if we stumble to an 0-2 start? They start 2-0. Does that change?
Now,
I
my
don't think
hatred
so.
for IU runs deeper than anything. So.
I was gonna say I'm thinking about
yeah.
maybe going to that game next year just to help cheer on an IU loss. Gotta cheer on the good cause. But yeah, so that happened. So Coach Brohm left, and we were all bummed about it, and went through that whole cycle. And then the rumor mill starts, the coaching carousel, the Babinski. By the way, hats off to Mike Babinski. He kept this thing locked, sealed. Because I was following. I bought the GBI for a year subscription thing, and every day it was like, all right, day 2, day 3, day 4. We still know nothing. This might be somebody who he's talking to. I'm not really sure. And that's usually not the case. I feel like they usually keep, there's usually a leak of some kind. And we heard a couple names, but there wasn't really like a solid, beat writer out there saying like, oh, this is what we're hearing or anything like that. So, that was crazy. But what did you guys think, when the rumor mill was starting and all those names were getting thrown out there and everything?
I think I kind of had like my big board of like hopefuls, but I really just didn't know because there's no info. Like I just didn't know how it was going to work out. And I think that might have been the most frustrating thing about this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that I try not to buy into these like my mailman's best friends, neighbors, father-in-law
potato.
knows someone in the department, and this is who they're hiring, or can't name my source, but sources close to the situation. I mean, again, I sent the screenshot in our group chat of all the sources who had confirmed, sources with blue check marks, even confirming that Matt Painter was going to Missouri. So as much as I tried not to buy into any particular name or get my hopes up, I knew that everything was just rumors and speculation, and following planes from South Carolina and things like that. Like it just I knew once we would know who our coach was once they named who our coach was. But I will say things went from about 0 to 120 really quick. It was like this morning it was like the scoreboard's on. I think we might know who our coach. Oh, here's our coach. Like it just like it was.
What was it, like 45 minutes from when?
Oh God, he's here.
45 minutes from when we first heard like the scoreboard was on and some other things were going on.
From good old Jebediah.
Yeah.
Shout out Jebediah.
Now and then like 45 minutes later, it's like, oh, he's a new coach. I was like, well, I think within 20 minutes, Brett McMurphy had said something, then it was officially out by the football team.
Which kudos to the athletic department for turning it on the scoreboard there.
What was that, Dylan?
So the scoreboard being on was like the smoke
leaving
the facility, and we're like, oh man, the scoreboard's on.
That was our white smoke.
What do we got?
Oh, they swept the floors today, you guys.
Oh my God, they mopped.
Yeah, I think we all discussed, as far as just how the feeling was as soon as Brohm left, we all discussed it being a situation that was new to Purdue fans. We aren't used to our coach getting poached. We're used to firing a guy because he didn't perform well, or, Tiller retiring because he's, the game's kind of passed him by. So, the blank slate was actually kind of exciting, though. Once you actually got over the disappointment and the sadness of Brohm leaving, it was like, wow, now what's going to happen? Like, we aren't stuck having to hire a Power 5 or a Group of 5 guy. Like, we halfway expected that could happen, and that was one of the bigger rumors. But then, there was also, Beamer from South Carolina being rumored, and different OCs, and Dan Mullen and Ed Orgeron. Like, it was just like, it was kind of cool to see the broad spectrum of like anything can happen. And because Babinski was so good at keeping it tight-lipped, it just kept running and running and running, and we just went off on tangent after tangent. So I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was kind of cool.
Babinski did a hell of a job. That's fun to say.
Oh my God. Babinski.
Babinski. I've been catching myself doing it at work, just being like, Babinski.
Coworkers are like, what? Is he okay?
But yeah, he kept such a tight lip on everything. Like there was nothing. So people were grabbing for everything. It started off, I think Tyson Helton was the first kind of name out there that was, mentioned as being a front runner for the spot. And even Tom Dinart, when he was being interviewed on BTN Live, was saying that's who he thought it was going to be. So I feel like when you're fooling those guys that are usually very tuned in and locked in with the know-how or the what's going on, that's pretty impressive. But yeah, I remember listening to the presser with Babinski when the coaching search was first announced, and it was really cool listening to him because he was just very matter of fact, was very like, I'm not going to answer these kinds of questions. I'll answer, these, and, we'll see where we go. And yeah, they were talking to him about, or what offensive kind of mind are you looking for? That's Purdue's bread and butter, the cradle of quarterbacks, all this stuff. And he's like, we don't necessarily have to go for an offensive guru. Which at the time I didn't really pay attention to, but now it's, connecting the dots that maybe was something that he was already looking for from the beginning. Maybe that was his mind, is like he wants to move towards a more defensive, Purdue being that more defensive threat, kind of leaning into that den of defensive ends. So yeah. And then today we found out that Ryan Walters, the defensive coordinator from Illinois, is our new head coach. So what were your guys' initial reactions to that?
I mean, I'll make my initial reaction shown here. I'm all for it. And I think everyone here as a part of the group is for it as well. I know there was some mixed opinions, but the guy's young, he's energetic. That video of him giving Maccabee a scholarship and the players' reaction in the locker room, like that got me hyped up.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think personality wise, and play style wise, he's a different, type of coach than we're used to having. But I definitely think that he's going to bring a lot of energy, and I gauge a lot of it by how upset Illinois fans are about losing him. So
Yeah, they were not.
They weren't.
they're not
They were upset. And I saw a tweet earlier today that Bielema said he knew he was going somewhere, so they have like a replacement. They had a replacement plan.
Yeah.
I was definitely excited. It took me. It was a pause of like, okay, let me look up this guy real quick and figure some things out. And then it was like, okay, I'm excited about this because it still is it is a step up. I know it's not okay. Somebody else want to go if I'm broken up. But
No, man, I was excited for it. Like you said, I had to search him a bit and see, his ways of things. But like he's young, he's energetic. The players seemed very excited. You saw a lot of Purdue guys, Purdue players specifically, tweet their support for the hire. I don't know, man. I'm excited. He's young. He's a fresh start, kind of a feel as the feel I'm getting. I think I think we all notice how excited some of the players are. So I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited for energy. I'm excited for a fresh start. I think it'll be a fun, hopefully, many years.
That's one thing that I noticed too right away was the player reaction. I really haven't found an outspoken, at least, negative player reaction. I mean, the guys on the defensive side of the ball are obviously pumped. Like I'm just sidebar. I'm dreaming of what Sanusi Kane can become under Ryan Walters. Like
OC
that.
Brothers.
Oh yeah, OC Brothers, all those guys. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Brady Allen tweeted that he's ready to roll. Devin Maccabee, obviously, Dream School loves Purdue and has that scholarship now.
Shout out to the Maccabee family. I like I said on Twitter, I go to war for the Maccabees.
People.
I love every single one of those folks. God love them.
I know. Yeah. Great people, great kid. Just he's so passionate about Purdue. I mean, like I think it was his dad or his uncle tweeted, it was his dream school, getting the scholarship. That's got to mean the world to him. And that's just so cool to not only have that scenario where Purdue can do that for somebody, but it be somebody that's really good at what they do and loves Purdue, like just absolutely loves Purdue. So that's a really, really cool thing. But yeah, I remember, the initial reaction. I was excited as well. Just looking up stuff, and I was even reading an article, and it compared offensive-minded coaches to defensive, and there really wasn't a huge difference in winning percentage. It was 69% win percentage for those offensive-minded coaches, and it was 67 for defensive-minded, and they each used like a pool of like 1,500 games that they took samples from or from coaches. So really cool to see that was something that is Because I know that's a worry. How is Purdue going to handle a defensive-minded coach? How is Purdue going to succeed in that? And so, what do you guys think Purdue needs to do to be successful with a defensive-minded coach?
Well, I think one thing that we saw under the sort of air raid style offense that Brohm ran was what I mean, and this, I don't know. I'll just say there is some inconsistency, right?
Yeah.
There were times where we looked like we could beat anybody. There were times where we knocked off top 5 teams, and times where we were like, "Who is this? What is this team?" But one thing that happened every year was I went through this sort of like midseason crisis and wondering like, how good is this team? And I think when you rely so heavily on, I think under Brohm, we passed on 68% of plays. So almost 70% of plays we're throwing the ball. And when you rely so heavily on one person to make that play every time, you're putting a lot of pressure on one guy. And so while it's fun and I loved watching those teams, I think that, I welcome the transition to a more, defensive minded mentality and a more defensive minded coach, because defense travels and defense can be a little bit more consistent. You're, better at leveling the playing field. And someone made a great point today, on Twitter, in that, we moved the ball well and put up points against Michigan. It's just, to be able to stop other teams is, 50% of the game, honestly. So to those who say, Purdue has a lights out air raid offense and that's what we want to do, I think you can get sucked into that mentality and can sometimes yield bad results when you try to say this is what we do. I mean, to go to basketball for a second, look at Painter. I mean, we set the record in this energy era for most post ups Isaac Haas's senior year, and then the next record we set the record for most threes in a season. I mean, like that, you have to be dynamic and you have to be flexible in any sport. And so Painter's a great coach, and I think that a good program should be willing to adapt. And if we have a defensive minded coach, I say let's go. That's my response.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So is this any better? We good?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So initially, like I was saying, one of the big negative comments I wanted to address was, someone said something about Brohm laughing down in Louisville that we hired the guy he put 30 points up on. Well, we also put 6 scoring drives together against Michigan. Does Michigan have a bad defense now because we did that? Like, Brohm was a good offensive mind that figured out the Illinois defense in one game that was kind of a cold, sloppy kind of a game. So I don't think that takes anything away from what he did at Illinois and the defense he built there and the defense he recruited there. He also was part of putting together the 6th best recruiting class in 2023 for Illinois. And we're down at like 11 right now. I don't know if that factors in who we might have lost to Louisville, but he's probably going to bring some of those guys with him because that's the nature of the business right now. Right. So, to disparage him because we beat them and put 30 points up, like, come on.
So, you good? Okay. So, let me crack my knuckles here for a minute.
Hold them back.
So, I said I had some stuff to say. First, I am really excited about the hire. I've always kind of been a defensive guy, so I'm excited to have a defensive coach. 2, for the naysayers, there's probably 2 games a year that we lost because of the defense. Just give or take a little bit. And I saw one tweet today that talked about last defensive coach was Leon Burnett in the 80s, and it didn't go very well. Besides the fact he won the 1984 Big Ten Coach of the Year, but that's besides the point. The thing that I think I'm the most frustrated about is how the fan base reacted. There was some stupid comments. There were some ugly comments, and it's frustrating to have a successful program, have a coach come in that is a national coordinator of the year, and then disparage him because it wasn't Nick Saban. Or, everybody's like, oh, he doesn't have coaching experience, blah, blah, blah. Dabo Swinney was a wide receivers coach when he got hired at Clemson, and he's had 12 straight 10-win seasons and 2 national titles. You don't care. If a guy can coach a position, he can coach a team. And it's not about – it's about leading men. It's not about experience. And you can't get experience unless you get hired as a coach somewhere. Errol Hazel was a coach for a year at Kent State and came in and put us into purgatory. And And the thing that's most frustrating is we get stuck in this purgatory of Joe Tiller, which don't get me wrong, Joe Tiller's a great coach, great minded individual, but we just get stuck in this innovative offense. Like everybody's doing innovative offenses right now. That's how you win football games. You look at teams like Michigan. They're not out here slinging it 900 times. They're a smash mouth football team and have a great defense. Same thing. Georgia's a little bit kind of out of whack there, but and I attributed this hire as if we hired Todd Monken, but it's just the defensive side of the ball. Todd Monken's one of the best offensive coordinators in the country, and you can make a case for him for being National Coordinator of the Year. It's just the same thing on the defensive side of the ball. And I think we need to get out of these stupid negative opinions every time somebody does something. People are like, oh, Babinski oversold his press conference. No, he didn't. He said we're not going to go. Basically, the way I interpret it, he's not going to go out and hire a dude from Eastern Kentucky for the blind in order to hope that this dude doesn't suck.
Right.
Like we got a Division I, and Walters has been a Division I. What?
Russ was just like, "Come on now, preach it,
preach, amen." Come on,
Walters has been a Division I football coach at every stop he's made besides North Texas. I'm done. Support the guy, and I think now, and I did see a lot of posts about it on Twitter that a lot of guys got won over by Maccabee getting that scholarship, and I think that did a lot, but. People got to give the dude a break. He hasn't even had his introductory press conference yet, and people are already shitting on him. Like,
right. And like to that point too, I was checking out his Twitter profile, when they had announced his hiring and everything, and a little bit of time had passed, and he's on Twitter, he's liking stuff when people are like saying, "Oh, this is a great hire." He's on Twitter, so he sees people saying, "Oh, this is a great guy, super excited for him," and he also sees the fan base just dragging his name through the mud, just talking so much smack, which for I'm sure a guy like him is motivating. He wants to prove people wrong. He wants to change that narrative. But also it's like, damn, what did I just come into? You know what I mean?
For those of you saying you're getting rid of your season tickets, you're an idiot.
I'll happily take them.
I'll take
it. And another thing is like, what did people like if Brohm stayed? What was your expectations for next year? Next year is a totally new football team. There's like 11 or 12 starters on defense alone that are either starters or regularly rotate in the defense. Gone. And then there's Aiden O'Connell, Payne Durham, and Charlie Jones. Gone. This is a totally new team this year. So I don't know if you thought Purdue was going to go 8-4, 9-3 again. That's ridiculous. I mean, if they did, that'd be incredible, and that'd be an insane coaching story. And not to knock anybody that's currently still on the team, but those guys that I would just mention were the team. They were the big players, big factors in a lot of us winning those games. And so it's crazy to think that if Coach Brohm stayed, that your expectations were sky high still. So yeah, just wild. And hopefully
it was really disappointing.
Yeah, super disappointing. I get it. I get that you're scared. I get that people are scared. I get that people want to continue Purdue's success and think that we should have swung higher for the fences. Which I think Walters is a great hire. I think that's still a swing. He's everything that I was reading up on him today was great up and coming coordinator. He's going to be a really hot name in the coaching market. All these great things to say about him. So I'm really excited. I think that the future could be really bright. I would love to have a smash mouth, like in your face defense that like people are scared of. I would love that.
So I'm glad you said that because it kind of segued into a little comment I want to make. And it's fitting that it was you that made that comment because you're all big about this tunnel. And the Thunder, the Boilers, Thunderstruck, and that new student section, the new tunnel. What's a really good way to use your home field advantage with a dominant defense, right? What's a good way when your offense is rebuilding? What's a good way to still compete the next year? Scheme a new defense and bring in a new defensive coach that can shut the other team down while we're figuring out what we're doing on offense. I mean, I think it's a perfect hire. I think it's great.
And it's funny too because flip sports, right? Basketball. Our whole persona in basketball is play hard. Defense lives here. Everyone loves that. Purdue fans love somebody busting their ass, diving on the floor for a loose ball, going, trying to pick somebody's pocket, taking it to the lane hard. Purdue fans live and breathe off of that in basketball, but all of a sudden in football, it's like, whoa, let's pump the brakes here. Let's not get crazy. Let's just throw the ball really well and be okay on defense. Like, I don't know why that there's such a flip there. I guess it's because we've seen, the offensive, basketball and grass work, but I would absolutely love Nick Carraway to be like a name that everybody else in the Big Ten fears next year, or Joe Strickland, or
that's a good possibility already.
Corday Sidnor, or everybody. I mean, these guys are hungry and they're excited.
And shout out to those players, because that was another cool thing that I don't know if you guys touched on when I stepped out for a second, but during that coaching search, seeing the players basically recruit for us and basically say, hey, I'm staying put. I still believe I'm ready to do this. Like, that was awesome.
Yeah. Shout out to Jason King too.
Yeah. And then to see them like embrace and get pumped up over this coaching hire. Hey, I'd rather see some negative fan base comments and see the players be super positive and super into the hire than the other way around. Seeing the players buying in this immediately, let's go.
I will say, how excited this dude is to coach here. Within 20 minutes, he had changed his Twitter profile and had a video posted.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, and not to stay stuck on the Louisville subject, but it's just a coaching transition that I followed pretty closely for obvious reasons. But the day that Scott Satterfield had announced that he had left, what did they have? 6 guys enter the portal that day?
Yeah.
And then like 3 or 4 decommits. We haven't seen. I mean, we had guys enter the portal. Before Brohm had said he was leaving, but we haven't seen nearly anything to that magnitude. And
4 decommits, I think. Because I think we went
5 decommits and then 2 in the portal.
Okay.
I didn't know the number was that high, but it was. I mean, it was immediate. As soon as Scott Satterfield said he was leaving, there was like, by the end of the day, they had
one kid was at Texas A&M before the sun went down.
Yeah, and that was one of the decommits. He was a running back, which
that 5-star running back.
5-star. I mean, not knocking on Jeff Brohm. Running isn't necessarily a strength of his offense. So I get that decision by him. So but just that, again, I'm just comparing us to maybe other schools in general. We haven't seen the magnitude yet, of this. But there will be some shuffles. I'm sure there will be a couple of players who don't see themselves necessarily fitting into whatever this new scheme is, and will choose to take their talents elsewhere. And that's just the unfortunate reality of college football these days, and that the transfer portal exists for situations like these. But there's probably going to be a few guys coming in the transfer portal. There's going to be new faces on this team next season, regardless of where they come from. So that's just the kind of inevitable reality. But step number 1 is obviously he's got to get the offensive and defensive staff set up, which we could speculate all night over who that's going to be, but reality, none of us have any idea.
Yeah,
if hiring that's anything like hiring the coach, it's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, we're also, I think a lot of us are also focused on who the offensive coordinator is, who's going to be. I wonder who the defensive coordinator is going to be. Just with Walters being such a defensive mind, I'm sure he's going to look high and low for somebody that really fits his system. I loved that our inside source, Jebediah Oswald, was telling us that he was telling the players he's basically given the green light to get the best supporting staff that he possibly can, which is a really cool thing to hear too. So hopefully that gets executed.
Shout out Jebediah.
Shout out Jebediah Oswald. So tomorrow is the first press conference. I'm excited to get to know him more. I think just from like the quick videos that I've seen and like his small interactions with the players and everything, and like I think one of the first people he saw, at least on camera, anyway, going to the facility was Sanusi Kane, and just that interaction, like his demeanor is a lot not laid back in a bad way, but a lot more just like chill, I think, than a Jeff Brohm, which I'm going to be interested to see how the players respond to that. And not that he can't like get fired up and stuff, but he just seems like real like laid back and just kind of mellow. Whereas like Jeff Brohm was like that real stern like father figure, I feel like, type of guy.
See, I
So,
get the other vibe from it. I think that
Oh,
dude's
really?
walking lightning rod.
Really?
I think he is.
That was
I mean,
my take too. Yeah.
one, he's a defensive player. So and every defensive player I've ever met is go, 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 go. They're like the Energizer Bunny on meth. Like they just are nuts and go and intense and hyped up. And I think he's going to be that way, especially once he gets in and starts getting his inner workings going and figuring things out and putting his pieces into place. He's going to be juiced up.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about strength coach. You know, that's probably one of the bigger hires. Purdue, and it's not just to Purdue. I'm sure a lot of schools deal with it, but I think in our eyes, Purdue has dealt a lot. You know, especially the last few years, it seemed like with an injury bug. Especially middle of the season, everybody's nicked up, everybody's banged up, people are hurt. We're on like our third string DB by that time. So I think that's a really important hire. I'm just imagining. I just keep imagining a Northwestern strength coach coming to Purdue. I don't know if you guys have seen that guy.
That
Yeah,
dude is
like-
yoked.
When you said
Yeah.
an Energizer Bunny on crack, that's immediately what I thought.
Yes.
That dude's
Yeah.
wearing cutoff sleeves in like -5-degree weather, banging his head into other people.
That's great.
Just absolute nutcracker.
Well, and that I think it's important to outline, what all he did at Illinois. So, in 2020, according to PFF, which for those who don't know is kind of emerging as the Ken Palm of football. All NFL teams use it, and over 100 college football teams use it. But according to PFF in 2020, before they hired Walters, Illinois was ranked 121st in overall defense. His first year, he brought them from a ranked 121st up to the ranked 34 in defense. This past season, they were ranked number 4. Like, that's an insane transition in 2 years. Like, it has been, I don't know how long that it doesn't go that far back, but like we haven't been top 50 in a long time.
I was gonna say, what
so-
was Purdue's defensive rating this year?
Give me 1 second, I'll let you know.
Yeah, but while he's looking that up, Dylan or Russ, what are your guys' thoughts kind of on the whole Ryan Walters situation? I know we've talked about it a little bit, but do you guys have anything else to add? Oh, Dylan, your mic's muted, I think.
Rookie mistake. What do you know? I'll be interested.
94.
Yeah,
what he
we
does
added
at
him to
OC.
the ending credits too early.
I know.
Jesus.
Didn't happen
Purdue
the
is ranked
first game. I
94th.
wouldn't be here. Anyway, no, I'm excited to see what he does at OC and who comes to fill that position. I think everyone else has said, I'm really excited to see a energetic defense, which we all know brings a lot of energy to the crowds and stadiums. And I think when you combine the new hire and you combine the new renovations to Ross Aid, and I mean, there's so much energy around the program. It's ridiculous, and in the best way possible. So I think a fresh, young, energetic coach coming in during renovations and all these cool things happening, I think it's a good time to be a Boilermaker. Every day is, but especially days like today. So there's a lot going upward, which is what you want, especially after such a great coach like Jeff Brohm leaves. You don't want to quickly go downhill, and I think we're really battling up and heading towards the right direction with Walters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think I'll kind of side with Dylan a little bit, but straddle a little bit. That he definitely, Coach Walters came in with a sense of confidence, kind of a laid back, cool confidence, but he's got that switch that I think was it Dan Campbell's the Lions coach. He's had quite a few sound bites and big huddle moments. I think that's what we're going to see from him. I think he's going to have that switch that when he gets on the sideline or he gets in that locker room, we're gonna see let's see a good contradiction to what we saw in the bucket game from the other side. Yeah, I think his speeches are going to be run through the wall speeches.
Made less and less more. And the best part is when they cut away from Tom Allen and they go towards the player, and the guy's like, Jesus Christ, what are we doing? Like, who is this guy? Like,
the guys were like typing their transfer portal messages as he was talking.
I didn't realize this motivational speech could actually work negatively. But that
I don't know why I was compelled to rewatch that today, but
yeah, what in the world?
I feel physical discomfort when I watch that video.
He's pacing back and forth, and he's like on that ledge, so he's higher than all the players, and all the guys are just like, I think we should shake our heads.
Live out our DNA today.
Just smile and nod, guys. Just push through. It'll be okay.
Like it's almost like he's a Marvel villain or something. Like it's so
bad
weird.
one.
But
Dude, watching that live was so uncomfortable.
He sounds like a
so Damon, to answer your question, we were 94th in defense this season.
94th?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that bad. I was thinking like high 50s, low 60s. Man.
Okay. And I know he said Ken Palm of football, but Division I, there's like 136 teams, so it's not 94th out of 300 plus teams. It's that's what 30th percentile, you'd say.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, that is accurate, but these guys collect over 600 data points on every single play. So they look at things like how well did you cover your receiver on every play. Versus only when the ball's targeted, or when the quarterback targets that guy, things like that. So they take a lot of things into consideration. They adjust it, for because looking at things like how many points do you allow per game. I think Iowa led in that category, but Iowa also beat up on some pretty bad teams at the beginning of the season. So it's really hard to factor that in, into to use that as kind of the overall metric, but. I trust PFF. There's a reason that every single NFL team uses it, so I'm going to go off of what they say. But yeah, this season we are 98. I didn't expect it to be that low either. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but we're right up there with Tennessee in terms of numbers. Tennessee is really good offense and kind of a bad defense, and they're 10-2 in the SEC. So
yeah, I feel like PFF is like. And hold on with me to this comparison. Just don't jump off the boat as soon as I say it. I feel like it's kind of like Elf on the Shelf, but for football players. It's like, hey, PFF is watching. You better, when you're out there, you better be on your best behavior. You better lock it up on defense.
It's like when the Madden rating czar shows up to the sideline in an NFL game. Like, oh man,
oh no!
If I fumble the ball, I'm going to see him writing on his notes. Like,
I think it's interesting, like because not. They separate sacks out from sacks allowed by the offensive line to sacks allowed by the quarterback. I think that's genius. Like some sacks are the result of a quarterback. Like I'm a Steelers fan. Ask Ben Roethlisberger how many sacks in his career were his fault. A lot. Yeah, a lot. I mean, a lot of his sacks. Like he would run around the backfield for 15 seconds sometimes and take a sack, and sometimes he'd throw a touchdown too. So not all sacks are the result. I mean, and just like all interceptions are the quarterback's fault. So if the interception hits the receiver in the hands and it gets tipped up and the DB catches it, that interception isn't credited to the quarterback. It's credited to the receiver at that point. So it doesn't knock the quarterback for hitting the receiver in his hands. So it's a really interesting platform. It's owned by Chris Collinsworth. So, It's got to be good.
Oh, I need to start sliding in like Collinsworth at the start of every podcast. Take a look at this guy.
So the other thing I'll say about building a staff, though, is having a defensive-minded coach hired that has a proven track record of building a strong defense, and then having to find a offensive-minded coach when we're known as the cradle of quarterbacks. I give us a better chance of finding that coordinator than the fact that we've had 4 different defensive coordinators in Brohm's tenure. As far as building a program long-term, selling that, hey, we're going to all probably be a defensive team. And oh, by the way, we have a running back that's coming back who set the freshman rushing record. As much as we're losing, like that makes it somewhat appealing to go get your guy.
Yeah, and honestly, if he can develop Purdue's defense into what he's developed Illinois in such a short time, I don't think Purdue has to go. I think they can. I think with our reputation, we can go for a really great offensive coordinator, but I don't think we have to go for like a offensive, innovative, mind-shattering, play calling genius. I don't think we have to. I think we just call somebody that's a really solid coordinator. I think the fan favorite, the player favorite would be Coach Shepard to come back as an offensive coordinator. And before we, because I feel like we're going to transition to basketball here with the last, 15, 20 minutes of the podcast. But before we do that, I have this theory, and I was telling Chris about this before we hopped on here. Because on Twitter today, I saw, somebody predicting the future, and they were saying that, Walters gets Purdue back to an 8-4 year, and the year is 2025, and then Deion Sanders leaves Colorado, and he goes back to Colorado.
Was that Jay Money, I believe?
I think so. And I was in my mind, I'm like, let's think, if Walters does get Purdue, maybe really quickly, maybe in like 2-3 years, he gets Purdue to maybe their first 10-win season and God knows how long, the second one in school history. And maybe that job does come open because Deion Sanders leaves or whatever. Maybe an SEC job comes open and he jumps ship. If you've got a guy like Shepard as offensive coordinator who was already there for 4 years and then is with you for another 2 or 3, who is loved by the players, really liked by the fans, great recruiter, I think that would be an awesome, easy transition into a head coaching role for Shepard. So I could see, that steady climb. So just in thinking about the future, I think Shepard would be a great offensive coordinator.
I'll add a like a little snippet that I thought of, and I said it earlier today. Defense travels. We say it in basketball all the time, right? Defense travels. Defense doesn't care about rain. Defense doesn't care about wind. Defense doesn't care about anything except tackling the guy with the football. So I think that this is going to benefit us. We might not see it in September, but we'll see it in November.
I just want to see some like Remember the Titans shit where they're on the field warming up and it's everywhere we go, just out there chanting and having a good time. No, I'm excited. I think we're all excited. So if you're not on the Walter wagon, I'm gonna hashtag that now. The
Love
Walter
that.
wagon.
Ooh,
If you're not on the Walter
you heard
wagon,
it
get
here.
out of here.
Heard it here first.
Yeah, the Walter wagon.
I'll
If
make
you
the
haven't
graphic.
taken out- Dude,
I'll tweet
please
it.
do. Yeah. I think Purdue football has got a really great young, energetic up and comer, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, we have a long time to wait and see until we play Fresno State next year. So hopefully he'll be super busy in the transfer portal. He'll be really busy recruiting, and we'll get a great team together for next year. So
last football question: what do we expect Ross Aid to be like first home game?
I think it's going to be crazy.
Nuts.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be packed.
so.
Yeah, I think that he's going to continue. So he's already won over a lot of fans with his whole giving Maccabee a scholarship in the first 5 minutes after he landed the plane. He didn't land the plane. Somebody else did, I think. He could have landed the plane.
He landed the plane.
He landed the plane. That's why he flew from Champaign. But anyway.
What can't he do?
Yeah, exactly. I think that he's going to continue to win over the fan base as time goes on. There's going to be those old crotchety guys that are, on the message boards, still typing away like this because they're old and have to type like this. But I think he's going to win over the fan base. He's already won over the players. It seems like a good portion of them, or the guys that are just, really important to this team. Not saying that there's anybody that's not really important, but just guys that were big players last year. And future big players as well. So I think it's going to be a packed Ross Aid next year. Not only because of him, but just the renovations, the new people want to see the tunnel. People want to hear thunder. I don't know who I need to talk to, but I need to talk to somebody to get that sorted out.
So the renovations are for sure done by next season, right?
Yes,
I think so. Yeah.
That's the plan.
I think your guest, Damon, your guest Wednesday might be able to put you in contact with someone to make that happen.
That would be
Rest
awesome. Yeah, by the way,
no one loved you. But
before we transition to basketball, real quick shout out. Going to have Markel Jones for a quick one-on-one interview tomorrow. So tune in for that. We're going to talk about Devin Maccabee, the freshman rushing record, And now, we're going to get his input on the coaching change as well, just to hear about that and his thoughts and kind of what he's heard in the rumblings as well about Walters. So that'll be a good, 10, 15 minute quick snippet. So join in for that as well. But so a lot going on for football. Not a lot going on for basketball. Just 10-0. Ranked number one, fastest number one ranking in I don't know how many years. Went from unranked to number one in 34 days.
That's the fastest ever. Nobody's ever done it before Christmas.
Man, he's like a. I'm just imagining like a cowboy, like yeah. Just crazy. This was supposed to be a rebuild year. Zach Edey. I was nervous about this year before it started. I'll admit that I was nervous because I thought Zach was a good player, but I didn't expect him to develop and make the jump that he did from his sophomore to junior year. Like there's balls now that if they're low to the ground, if he's got to bring it up from his feet or just like kind of from his his waist area, that 9 times out of 10 is getting taken away. It's getting stripped out last year. We just got a lot of immature guys in the chat or in the podcast. You guys, if you guys are watching right now live, a lot of immature bastards in the live feed. But no, seriously though,
it just ruined Damon's.
Yeah, no. So you were discussing, Edey. He's not turning the ball over nearly as much.
Yeah, he's not turning the ball over nearly as much. He's able to bring that ball up and make something happen. So, I think it's really.
That's the first purpose of this podcast.
Can I turn off my video feed every time I look
here?
at
Guys, thanks for turning in tonight. I'm officially quitting the podcast. It was nice knowing everybody. So.
No, I mean, I'm honestly not shocked by the fact that we're number one. I mean, I think just personal opinion. It's between us, UConn, Houston, and Virginia for the best team in the country right now. I said it a lot. I think I even said it on this podcast for basketball season that I don't think we skip a beat. But by that I meant we don't miss the tournament, right? And finish top 4 in the Big Ten. Being number one's a bit of a surprise, honestly, but not too much of a surprise. It just we're this time of year we're cooking, and I think the main question is how can we continue off of this? This weekend we have the lawyer versus lawyer game in Indianapolis. I'll actually be attending that one.
Are you working jury duty?
No. Oh, yeah. That
was a lot funnier than you guys let it be. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm tired of the lawyer jokes, man. They're driving me crazy.
Somebody said every time there's a lawyer joke, drink. I said that's called alcoholism.
But last season we saw our number one ranking come, and that was a great game to be at. Definitely a historic game. I'll never forget leaving Mackey and everyone's chanting number one and people are jumping up and smacking the stop signs and just celebrating like crazy. And and then we immediately came out against NC State, didn't look great, almost dropped that game. And then we all know what happened against Rutgers, a game where both teams seemed like they didn't want to win, and Rutgers, we wanted to win a little bit less. So I'll be really curious to see how we handle that. Some people said oh, this is what's that we saw this last week with Hofstra and win with Nebraska, and that this is the the team can't handle the pressure, they can't handle the limelight. And I don't think we did anything wrong against Nebraska. I thought defensively we looked good. I just think that some shots didn't go in. And, as Painter said on his show last night, if a few more of those shots go in, no one's saying we didn't perform well. And I stand by that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, he rattled off like 5 different layups alone. And that wasn't even getting into the three-point shooting that we missed. That last play, especially drawn up for Lawyer, he was wide open in the corner. Basically the same play he hit the first 3 of the game on. Mm-hmm. And he just missed it. Like I stood up like ball game, and somehow it didn't go down.
A lot of people weren't happy about that play. A lot of people thought that Smith should have taken that layup. I think
there was a 6'7" and a 6'9" guy guarding him.
I was about to give you credit for that.
Anyway, no, I mean he's off the rails. When we get our best shooter a wide open 3, I always want that shot. I mean, Now, the game was tied, right? That was to win it in overtime, or in regulation. I mean, I would have liked to have seen have him pull up, dribble inside a few feet and be a little bit closer just to win the game. But that's probably a 50% shot for him, being that open. So it just goes to show. And
Well, you're
supposedly
saying
we
that-
tried.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I would say supposedly we tried to foul too in regulation. I saw that we tried in overtime and we didn't get the whistle, but supposedly we tried in regulation.
And got out
Didn't get the
position or
whistle
whatever
there.
is the way Painter made it sound after the post game. No, I was going to say that the lawyer family says that a 3-point shot's a layup. So pretty good
True.
with,
Yeah, they do say that. I didn't realize that their dad's involvement with basketball has been pretty extensive too. He's a scout for the Clippers, I believe it's the Clippers. So that's something I learned yesterday. But also Painter said, and he'd been recruiting Fletcher since he was 16, had never seen him dunk ever.
Really?
He said that when you have been recruiting a player for that long and you've seen him practice that much, you usually see everything they have in their arsenal. You'd never seen him dunk before.
And what's crazy is like when he drives the ball, a lot of times I don't think it's going in. I think he's about to get blocked. I think he's going it doesn't look like this super strong drive to the basket, but it always is, or it usually is.
Yeah, he's got
I
blocked
think
a
we're
few times this year
conditioned.
too. So yeah,
I think we're conditioned by having shooting guards who were catch and shoot guys only, and Sasha was a terrific player, but that's something, as we talked about with our friend Joe Jackson, that he developed kind of later in his career at Purdue, was the ability to attack closeouts and take it to the basket. And, Fletcher looks the part as a freshman. He looks really good. I mean, that he was not shaken by the atmosphere there at all. And from what
I don't
Edie
think
said,
Smith was either.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Smith was a little bit, but definitely not as much as as Fletcher was. He kind of made that kind of dumb foul there at the end of regulation, which I think was a little bit of the full court press they were putting on him, getting to his head, and I mean he put his elbow right into the guy's chest and shoved him off, and didn't really need to. They had Fletcher there, to setting a screen to get Smith open so he could get the ball inbound. So that was just kind of a frustration foul in a scenario where we didn't need one, and especially coming off of an offensive foul in Nebraska, that was a huge momentum play for us. But one guy I got to give credit to is Ethan Morton in that game too. His defense was insane, just absolutely insane. Like I know I sent you all the breakdown of that one play where he ran through 3 screens and still deflected the ball and saved a wide open 3, just playing as hard as he could.
Can you guys imagine what the lawyer family Christmas will be like if Davidson beats Purdue this weekend?
Stop. What are you? Okay,
I'm just.
you're off.
You were all thinking about it.
No, I wasn't until now.
That's
No.
Oh,
Damn it.
okay. Oh, you're so high and mighty.
Right.
I never.
He's muted.
Can't do that. It's mean.
So I will say, since we started talking about Fletcher, we were talking about him playing, Sasha-esque, Klein-esque, like a junior and a senior. And some of those things are true, but I think a better comp for him at this point might be Etuan Moore. We talked about the last time we had multiple freshmen starting out the gate in an exhibition game, and it was the Baby Boilers. And we talked about Braden Smith and how good he was going to be and to expect big things from him. But the way that Fletcher is now not only shooting the 3, but driving the ball, I think he's got that kind of game like Etuan did. Just saying.
Yeah, and he hit those free throws right there at the end in overtime. And I was talking to a buddy of mine who was watching the game with me. He shoots those so fast. It's like he doesn't even want to give himself the chance to think about it. Yeah. Just like boom, boom, boom. And he was awesome there at the end. So super poised, even against the press. He took the ball up really well, in my opinion. So just great to see that stuff from freshmen.
And I felt like they were guarding him perhaps a little too physically in that, and someone, for anyone who didn't hear the Painter show last night, someone called in and asked about that, was that legal? And Painter didn't really say, it was or it wasn't. He said they were just, full court pressing him, but I thought there was a lot of contact, especially toward the end of regulation. They were kind of up in his face a little close, and for anyone who hasn't heard about the box outs, they were turning around and kind of using their elbows to push players away face to face versus with their backs to him, which is actually illegal. Thanks, Banner, for educating me with that. That was made illegal after Butler was doing it under Brad Stevens. They got away with it a lot supposedly in that game. I noticed visually that they were rebounding. They were shoving Edie out of the way to get rebounds, basically.
Yeah. There was an elbow in Edie's small of his back the entire game.
Yeah. Well, and that I think that's why Edie didn't have a air quote here, but a great game. And again, he had a double, and that's a below
almost a
average
triple double.
Almost a triple double, yeah. And but a lot of his shots come from putbacks, and when you're getting shoved out of the way, you can't get those rebounds and put them back in. But
yep.
Everyone's saying, people are freaking out. Oh, they're people know how to guard Edie now. They've learned how to guard Edie. I don't think. I mean, if you're going to double team Edie on a normal night, we make 4 more threes. And then it's not a game at that point. We also don't have a guy in Keisei Tominaga who goes lights out from 3, and he didn't have a single open 3 either. That's the crazy part. Is every 3 he took 5 threes in that game. Every single one was contested. Man,
and what was that stat you had on him? Like he shoots it way better.
50%. Yeah, he's 52% on contested threes this season, and he's like 37% on open threes.
It's insane.
So it's like, what do you just step away, leave him open? Like that shot he made at the end of regulation was crazy, and he hit probably 3 shots in that game, and Bardo even said it too. Like, if that shot doesn't go in, he's probably getting benched. So he hit some crazy shots. So hats off to him. He played a great game, and almost took Nebraska in it to win it. But one more thing is we kept Sam Griesel at bay. I felt like toward the end there, when he kind of got the ball, sort of waved off everybody, it was like, no, I'm going to take Ethan Morton one-on-one, and did so with ease. I got a little concerned because that's what he does. That's how he scores, and we didn't see that all game. And I just thought, okay, this is what we're going to see now. This is how they're going to play the game from here on out. But we shut that down right after he tried it again, and we double teamed him, passed it out, and he didn't try it again. So he probably wasn't 100%. He was a game time decision due to an illness, but felt like we did a good job on him.
How were you guys feeling? I think it was towards the end of either regulation or overtime. There was like an offensive possession for Nebraska where they got like 5 offensive rebounds in a row. Like Purdue could just not rebound it for their life. I was screaming at my TV.
Yeah.
That was when my heart rate hit 107.
Yeah. I know Painter said, he's like, I think he said it in the post game on radio. He said, he's like, there's just no way that he's like, it was a miracle that they didn't score on that possession.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. And like they missed like 3, like what I'll call bunnies, like 6-footers, and then 2, 3. I mean, it was crazy like that. I just thought, this is the one that's going to go in. This is the one that's going to go in. This is the one that's going to go in. And somehow we weathered that storm. But, what did you all think at the on the foul they called on Nebraska there at the very end to send Braden to the line? Do we think that was a foul? Or what's everyone's kind of thoughts on that?
I mean, it's interesting when you see a team all out going for the foul, and then they get upset when they get the foul call.
Yeah,
like
that was my take.
Like, had he escaped, they would have been livid that they didn't call the foul. But because the ball just happened to slip out right when they called the foul, I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, it's just bad timing. Bad timing if you're a Nebraska fan. But yes, they were intending to foul him. The ball happened to come out right around the time the foul occurred, maybe a little bit after or a little bit before the foul occurred. But they were attempting to foul him, and it just it's if the ball doesn't come out, no one's complaining about anything. They're executing their game plan. So it's just but it was a great road win especially for our younger guys.
Absolutely. Well, Purdue plays Davidson this weekend, this Saturday, I believe, in the Indy Classic. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, it's 6 p.m. So
You're going to be there, right,
Davidson.
Frank?
Yeah, I'm going to be there. Yeah, Davidson's another Ken Palm top 150 team. So they're actually ranked one spot away from Hofstra and Ken Palm. So similar team to what we saw in Hofstra, analytically speaking. Kind of the big thing to take away from that game is the Fletcher lawyer versus Foster lawyer. Foster's been on fire this season, so it'll be really fun to watch those two tee off. I just can't help but think about all the like driveway one-on-one like late nights they had growing up. So it's going to be a fun one for sure. Like I just anticipate those two just teeing off. So it's going to be a fun game to be at and see in person. But yeah, I mean it's I'll be really curious to see how this team responds after the number 1 ranking. So we'll see. We'll
You
see.
think
they've handled the success so far?
Yeah, you
Sure.
think they'll have that game on in the background at the lawyer family Christmas party, just like just showing all the highlights from that game? Is that a lot better? Is that a lot more tame? Is that suitable for you guys for me to say? Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot better.
Sorry, that Purdue fan came out of me. Just happens sometimes.
So I don't know how much you guys looked into their lineup, but the most interesting thing to me was that they do have a 6'11 guy.
They do.
They do have a 6'11 guy. He does start at guard. So I'm thinking Ethan Morton's going to have his hands full a little bit. You know, he gives up a few inches. He's probably not used to giving up 4 inches, but I'm guessing he'll be on him because watching him play, and I'm trying to look up the dude's name real quick here. But watching him play, I watched a little bit of, I think it was the South Carolina, Reed Bailey. I was watching the South Carolina game, and the dude literally, he runs around the court looking for that corner 3 or that open pop out 3, but then he'll go in and post up randomly too. So, you know,
he's a 42% 3-point shooter on the season too.
I'll say this: while he's at 6'11", he's 210. Not very big.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, yeah, he's wiry. The other thing I noticed about Davidson was everybody can hit a 3. They aren't necessarily a great 3-point shooting team, but it seemed like a lot of guys on their team can just step in and hit a random 3. So rotation is going to be key, and not losing your man, not getting caught up on a ball screen, not going under a ball screen is going to be huge, I think.
Yeah, we did a really good job of that against Nebraska. We weren't going underneath many screens in that game. Like they were trying to run Ethan Morton off of a lot of screens, and same with Braden Smith, and he was just getting skinny and going right over the top of those and not leaving that shooter any space. And Nebraska hit a ton of contested threes in that game. So yeah, that is going to be a key, is to try to shut them down from the perimeter, which is actually historically kind of been a kryptonite for Purdue. But this year our opponents are only shooting 27% from 3, which is actually 17th in Ken Palm, which is crazy. Because I always feel like teams that average 10% from 3 come into Mackey and go 11 for 22 or something like that. It just seems to happen every year.
I will be. I'm hopeful that Mason can come back.
Yeah, so Painter did say that he had non-contact practice yesterday for the first time since his injury, which is good. So TBD on that front. But yeah, not having him is defensively. I mean, he's kind of that in that help position a lot, and he plays it really well. So I think missing that is the reason we've looked a little odd defensively. But First has really picked up, especially against Nebraska in that role. So. If he's there, I'll be happy, but I'm confident we can still get this win without him.
Yeah,
absolutely. Cool. Dylan, you have anything to add? Any last thoughts?
No, like I told you guys in our group chat, every time I turned on the game, Purdue would start doing badly. So didn't watch much of it, to be honest, because I'm very, very superstitious, and Chris was shaming me for doing so.
But,
he kept telling me to turn off the game, so I turned off the game. But yeah, Edie's good at basketball, man.
he's just tall.
That's all I got.
Yeah, he's just tall, man.
Played hockey. People forget that.
Drink. Yeah.
Oh God,
cool.
the lawyer jokes are gonna be aplenty.
Oh my God, they
Yeah.
are.
I'm glad I won't be watching that one on TV for that reason.
They'll do it in the stadium.
Dude, please, I know you hate the jokes, but please just make a shirt that says "I'm here for jury duty." Please. I can
get one before the game. I don't have a whole lot of time, but
and then get beat
I'll
up.
see what I can do.
They get beat up.
Yeah.
Oh man, just
That's
like
what Damon's saying. Go get beat up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Setting you
No,
up
why
for
would that?
failure.
Why would that get you beat up?
I would beat him, but I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
I think
Well, just
it,
make sure you don't run into Dylan then while you're there.
Yeah.
I'll be there. Don't
Um,
worry.
But yeah, so oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think it'd be funnier to hear Frank explain that he doesn't like those jokes while he's wearing a jury duty shirt. Like,
Also true.
Yeah, it's like I lost a bet. You could just say you lost a bet. There you go. But anyway, so just want to wrap up the podcast here. We're about 10 minutes past the hour mark. So first of all, just want to say, again, if you're watching this live, or if you watched it live, or if you end up watching us on YouTube, you can check out the graphic there at the end of the intro. It tells you all the platforms that we're on: Spotify, YouTube, here on Twitter, and all those ways that you can follow all of us. Appreciate that if you are so inclined to do that. That would be great. Just as a reminder, again, tomorrow I'm going to have a sit down little one-on-one Q&A with Markel Jones. Going to talk about the freshman single season rushing record that was broken by Devin Mockabee. Talk a little bit about Mockabee, what he's been for the Purdue program, the future of our running game, and ability to recruit running backs. And we'll probably talk about Ryan Walters a little bit as well, just to get his kind of feelings on that. So should be a good, quick conversation. Hopefully you guys tune in for that. I think it'll be a good time. Another one. So just going to throw that nugget out there again. You've heard this if you listened to last week's episode, but I'm going to put it out there again. January 10th, Trevor Peters is going to be a guest on the show. So big part of the Purdue media team. Going to be exciting just to hear that take from him and everything. And then next week is our last week before we take like a Christmas break. So we're going to be out for at least a couple weeks for the week after Christmas. That'll be the 27th, and the week after that. So last week will be our last episode of 2022, you guys. So it's been cool. We've been doing this since July, I think early August now. So it's cool. It's crazy that it's wrapping up now. But yeah, also real quick, just want to send our condolences to the Mike Leach family. We everybody heard the news this morning that Coach Leach passed away. I believe it was due to complications from a heart attack. So, condolences, prayers to his family, to the Mississippi State football program, and everybody else involved in his life. He was a character, but also a great offensive mind, and I'm sure he was a great person too. So, condolences to everybody that knew him personally. So, both all that being said, Coach Walters is here at Purdue, whether you like it or not. We're all on the hashtag Walter Wagon. Hopefully you
Walter
can
Wagon.
join
Put it
too.
on a shirt.
No, seriously, that'll be sick. But
Now they're going to
the
steal
hashtag,
it from us.
Nope,
I'm okay with that.
the hashtag Walter Wagon. Hop on if you can. And yeah, it's gonna be awesome. So basketball's number one. Not a lot to say, but just other than it's a great time to be a Boilermaker. So thank you all for tuning in so much. Check us out on all our platforms, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Boiler up.
Boiler up.
Well, they're up.